accept my apology.
We were making more money than we knew what to do.
The fancy word is auditing for where we are. Okay, if you're a financial guy, maybe it's not such a fancy word. Yeah. On the other hand, if you're a marketer, it strikes fear and trembling into you. You know, the word auditing, that has something to do with money and yeah. So one of the most interesting periods of my life is when I had to teach finance to marketers. It's not an experience I would want to ever repeat, but we had to do it because these guys had to communicate with finance, and they were speaking totally different languages. These guys were speaking finance, and these guys were speaking marketing. And more, if you're a marketer, you need to speak finance. Yeah. You need to talk about return on investment. You need to talk about all of your indicators. You need to present your marketing ideas in a way in which they can be understood by finance people, right? So it's not an easy path to go down. Hopefully, at least two of these are already familiar to you. Everybody's heard of SWOT? All right, you will have done in a moment. Don't worry. You've all heard of SELECT? Or steeple, or pestle, or, okay, these are the external factors that we look at. These are things that we cannot control. You may not have heard of the 3 C's, so I'll save those for you as a further example. But if you look at these 3, if you look at these as tools for analysing where we are now, then I would suggest to you they are useful. SWOT stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats. An interesting tool, but not perfect. And it depends, like many tools, how you use it. Right? A perfectly adequate tool in the wrong hands can do a lot of damage. And SWOT is one of those. If you use a SWOT analysis simply to add up the strengths and then you add up the weaknesses, and you say, I have more strengths than I have weaknesses, let's go for it, you could have a problem. Because maybe one of those weaknesses, like we got no money, can actually sink the whole ship. Yeah? You got the idea? All right? So, if you're going to do a SWOT analysis and you're going to use it this way, which is frankly not the way that I personally use it from a business point of view, but if you're going to do that, at least try and apply some sort of grading, maybe a score out of 10, maybe an A, B, C, D classification, so that you know which are the most important things and which are less important from the point of view of evaluating the strengths and the weaknesses. Okay? So be careful. Yes, it's good. It's always good to think about these things, but it is not simply a numbers game. Let me tell you what I do with a SWOT analysis. And of course, if I'm doing a marketing plan, because it's for, grown-ups in theory, in other words, it's, for a company, I'm not going to head this thing SWOT analysis, and I'm not going to put a SWOT analysis into the work. And by the way, neither are you. In your assignment, if you're using SWOT, when you come to do your AWP, at the end of your course you're here, should you go on to do a master's or anything here or anywhere else, please do not put the SWOT analysis into the text of your work. Put it into the appendix. And then from the appendix, you draw out the relevant information and put that into the text, right? A SWOT analysis should never appear as part of the text of any academic piece of work, nor even, honestly, because it looks a little bit, junior school, stuff, so, don't actually feature it as part even of a commercial feasibility study, but it doesn't stop you going through the mental process, right? Which is important. I like to do a SWOT, of ourselves and also our major competition. Yeah, that's how I use SWOT. Yeah. Generally speaking, the opportunities and threats in a particular segment of industry are likely to be the same, aren't they? If we're operating in the same environment, the same external environment is likely to be there. Okay, there may be issues with regard to the control of the company or the nationality or something like that, but generally speaking, we're operating in the same ecosystem, in the same environment. Where we're likely to see some changes is in the issue of the strengths and the weaknesses. Now, if I do a SWOT analysis as opposed to a SWOT analysis, in other words, if I look at my strengths and weaknesses, and I look at the strengths and weaknesses of various competitors, then I can start to take some real decisions. And the decisions that I can start to take are, do I meet their strengths head on? Or do I exploit their weaknesses and make their weaknesses my strengths? Okay? Can you see how useful this is from the point of view of actually building a strategy? All right, let me give you a real life example. 14 years ago, I introduced the LCCI English for Business exams into Hungary. We were new to the market. We'd done, I think, LCCI probably was doing around about 200 exams a year. Very few people know anything about, LCCI. And then, I took the thing over. And what I did, I paid people to go and take examinations in other, examination boards. We monitored their progress. We got them to call in and ask for information. We got them to call back and ask for their results. We watched to see the way in which they were handled by the competitors. Because there's no way that we could spend the money initially to increase our level of awareness to match people that have been on the market for 30 years. That's not going to happen overnight, right? So we couldn't match their strengths. So what we really needed to know was what was the level of customer service and how was the whole thing handled. And this is what we found out. And we found out that generally speaking, with the competition, the level of customer service was very poor. They didn't pick up the phone, they didn't respond to emails, they were unhelpful in the case of examination results or examination failures. They weren't providing any real help or anything to the candidate. At this point, we decided, right, their weakness is going to become our strength. If somebody calls in, 3 rings, you pick the phone up. If somebody writes you an email, you reply the same day. All of these regimes we laid down. Even, we realised that, frankly, we're in a strange business. All that I've taught you has been a lie up to now, because in our business, satisfied customers don't come back. Think of it, People have passed the exam, unless they're an exam junkie, they're not going to come back and take another one, are they? So the satisfied customers don't come back. And the satisfied customers pass because they were smart. The fails, why did they fail? Because the exam was stupid. Because the examiner was unfair. Tell me, just like the prisons are full of innocent men, there are no exam failures. It's the exam that fails. It's the examiner that fails. It's never the candidate that fails. Nobody ever says, oh, I didn't prepare, or I didn't understand, or something like that. No, it's the exam that's done. Right? So, what we started doing, and again, it's an example of how you can take this market intelligence and how you can use it, is that we started offering failed candidates the ability to come in and look at their papers. Now, that may not seem terribly earth-shattering at this point, but 14 years ago, I promise you it was. Everything was top secret, nobody was ever allowed to see their papers or question the marks or anything like that. All of a sudden, we opened the doors and we said, if you failed, you can come in, and look at your paper. And they did. In fact, you could always tell as they were leaving the building, the people who had looked at the examination papers, because they had a red patch here. Because as they were looking at the paper, they were saying, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And by the time they got to the end of the thing, they realised the number of dumb mistakes that they had made. But we didn't stop there. We put a teacher alongside them in order to help them see, because mistakes tend to repeat. People tend to do the same dumb things time after time. The verb-noun agreements, or something or other, something or other is going to go wrong. People repeat it. If somebody can pronounce a word wrong, trust me, they're going to use it 50 times during an oral exam. Life is like that. Murphy is alive and well. So we can find trends and themes, and the teacher would explain this to them, and then they would go away next time, and they would come back and pass the exam. So we found a niche in the market, working with people who had basically failed the exam. And it was all down to exploiting the strengths and the weaknesses. Not meeting head on, because that would have been a loser. Finding out what these guys were not doing and filling that gap. And over a period of 5 years, we moved from 200 exams a year to over 3,000. Right? I promise you it works. So you might, again, want to consider that